I never used to think twice about night deliveries. They were usually dull, just endless driving through sleepy neighborhoods, handing over lukewarm pizzas to bleary-eyed people, then rushing back before the next order dropped. Honestly, it was probably the safest gig I'd ever had. Name's Daniel Reed. I'm 24, dropped out of college a year and a half ago after I realized I was spending more time sketching in the margins of my psych textbooks than studying. No real plan, just needed to keep the lights on. Red Oven Pizza didn't ask questions. They didn't care about my tattoos, or that I mostly kept to myself. Pay was okay, tips were hit or miss, and nobody bothered me. I usually worked the closing shift 4 p.m. to 2 a.m., and I had it down to a science. Park around back, clock in, throw on the name tag over my hoodie, keep my head down. Red Oven was one of those places you don't think about until it's 11 p.m., and your fridge is empty. It sat right on the edge of town, past that old gas station where the sign flickers like it's haunted, and just before the creepy mini golf course that's been closed since COVID. Most of our deliveries were within 6 miles. I could tell which house I was at just by the way the porch light buzzed, or how the dog barked before I even knocked. I never really felt unsafe. Annoyed? Sure. I've had drunks cuss me out over cold breadsticks. I've had teenagers pull the old forgot the tip routine. One time I handed a pizza to this guy who looked like he'd been crying for hours, red eyes, trembly hands. He just took the box, nodded, and shut the door like everything was fine. Weird, but nothing that stuck with me. That changed last Friday. Started off like any other dead-end shift. Jake, the assistant manager, was in the back elbow deep in dough because the mixer crapped out again. Our phone girl had walked out 2 days prior after some customer called her a bitch for forgetting garlic knots. So I was bouncing between the front counter and deliveries, trying to keep things afloat. It was about 10:30 p.m. when I wiped down the warmer and started unpinning my name tag. That's when Jake appeared, rubbing his neck like he'd been wrestling the mixer. "Hey man," he said, holding out a ticket. "One last run. Came in right under the wire, just a large pepperoni." I groaned. "Seriously? I'll cover your next Red Bull, swear to God." I sighed and grabbed the slip. "Where to?" He pointed at the address. "Miller Road. You know it?" I squinted at the paper. 2230 Miller Road, BO3. Jake nodded, already backing toward the kitchen. "Yeah, it's that weird spot past the train yard. That's like out by the warehouses, right? Technically still in our delivery zone." I hesitated. Miller wasn't dangerous, just forgotten. A dead stretch of busted streetlights, half-empty buildings, and chain-link fences no one bothered to lock anymore. One of those places where the silence feels heavier than it should. Still, a tip's a tip. "All right," I muttered. "Gimme 5. The drive was quiet. Too quiet. That early spring cold where the wind sneaks under your collar and every tree looks like it's leaning in to listen. I left the radio off. Something about that part of town didn't mix with music. Turning onto Miller felt like stepping into another world. The road cracked beneath my tires. The air reeked of rust and old rain. A streetlight stuttered above like a dying firefly. My GPS led me to a long L-shaped apartment complex set way back from the street. No name, no leasing sign, just dark, windows and silence. The lot was empty except for a busted-up van with no plates and a sedan with one flat tire and a tarp over the windshield. I double-checked the address. Matched. I grabbed the pizza, crossed the lot. The main door had a handwritten note taped to the glass in shaky pen. "Deliver to basement door. Follow hallway." I stared at it for a second. Basement. That wasn't protocol. Most buildings didn't even want us past the front lobby. And the number on the receipt? Blocked caller ID. No way to check. I thought about just leaving it at the door, but I'd driven all the way out here, and part of me, stupid, tired, curious, didn't want to go back empty-handed. I pushed the door open. The lobby smelled like mold and rotting drywall. A single bulb dangled from the ceiling, swinging slightly, even though there was no breeze. The wallpaper was curling away from the wall like it was trying to escape, every step squished. At the end of the hallway was a battered door with a crooked label. Basement. I stopped. My gut did that thing it does. When something's just off. A flicker in the chest, like a dog perking up before a storm. My hand hovered near the doorknob. I could leave. I could just call it, say no one answered. But I didn't. I opened the door. The staircase was tight, claustrophobic. I had to angle my shoulders just to fit. The air down there was 10 degrees colder, easy. My breath puffed out in little clouds. The pizza box felt like it weighed 10 pounds in my hands. Halfway down, I paused. There were voices. Not loud, just murmuring, like a conversation happening underwater. Too soft to make out words, but definitely voices. I swallowed. "Hey," I called out, voice cracking. "Pizza delivery." Nothing. I reached the bottom step, breath shallow. A narrow concrete hallway stretched out ahead of me, cold and damp, lined with rusted metal doors. Most were shut, sealed tight like whatever was behind them hadn't moved. In years. But one, down at the far end, was slightly ajar. A thin line of yellow light leaked out into the hall, flickering like the bulb inside was clinging to life. I took a step. My footstep echoed, sharp and loud against the concrete. The murmuring voices stopped. Just cut off, like someone hit pause. I froze. My fingers clamped tighter around the pizza box. My legs wanted to turn back, bolt for the stairs, but something else, a mix of curiosity and pride maybe, pushed me forward. I crept down the hall, each step slow, deliberate. When I reached the open door, I hesitated, then tapped it open with my foot. "Hello?" I called out, voice low. The door creaked wider. The room was small, windowless. A single bare lamp lit it from a folding table in the corner, its yellow light casting long shadows. The air hit me like a wall, sharp, putrid, like spoiled meat and ammonia, thick enough to taste. 6 people sat on the floor in a circle, backs to me, perfectly still, facing inward, not talking, not moving. "I've got your pizza," I said, my voice cracking slightly. No one turned, no acknowledgement, just silence. I took a step inside, the door swinging open behind me with a groan. That's when one of them moved. She turned slowly. Too slowly. Her face caught the light, pale, almost gray, like someone who hadn't seen the sun in years. Her eyes were wide, glassy, locked on me. Her mouth hung slack. There was no recognition, just a hollow stare, as if she wasn't really in there. My chest tightened. The others began to turn. Every face was the same. Empty. Waxen. Their movements synchronized, stiff, like they were being wound up from the same key. I staggered back a step. Who ordered this?" The first woman stood. Her limbs moved like she was underwater, slow, fluid, unnatural. The rest followed, one after another, all rising without a word, as if something behind their eyes had snapped into gear. I backed toward the hall, heartbeat thudding in my ears. "Okay, look," I stammered. "If this is some kind of prank, I'm not laughing." They stepped forward, then again, in unison, silent, controlled, like puppets. The box slipped from my hands and hit the floor with a dull thud. I ran, the hallway, suddenly felt too long, like it had stretched out while I wasn't looking. My footsteps slapped the concrete as I sprinted, the shuffling sound of footsteps behind me growing louder, faster. They were coming. I hit the stairs hard, taking them 2 at a time. My lungs burned, every breath sharp. I scraped my hand on the wall, trying to steady myself. When I burst into the lobby, I spun and slammed the basement door shut behind me. I leaned against it, gasping. Nothing. No footsteps, no whispers, just silence. I didn't wait. I bolted to my car, yanked the door open, threw it in reverse, and peeled out of that lot like something was still chasing me. My hands shook the whole drive home. That night I locked every door, window latches too. Pulled a chair under the doorknob, old movie style. I didn't sleep, just sat on the couch with a kitchen knife and waited for the sun. Next day, I walked into Red Oven, tossed my badge on the counter, and told Jake I was done. No reason, no explanation. He didn't ask. Maybe he saw it in my face. That was 3 days ago. I haven't told anyone, haven't even said it out loud. But last night, I found something taped to my front door. It was a red oven receipt, folded. No name, no note, just my address, handwritten in thick black marker. Underneath, scrawled, in red ink, basement, same place. I never thought I'd quit a job because I was scared. Not anxious, scared. Not the kind of fear you joke about at a bar, but the kind that creeps up on you at 1 a.m., tightens around your chest, and makes you check every damn lock in the house twice. I'd been delivering pizzas for almost 2 years, mostly out of the Pizza Hut on Millstone Avenue, a little spot on the edge of Brook Hollow, Kentucky. Not exactly Gotham City. Weirdos, sure. We had plenty of those. Drunk frat guys, sleepy-eyed stoners ordering triple cheese at midnight, and, once, some old dude who opened the door in nothing but a bath towel and a grin. But never anything dangerous. Never anything that made me think twice. Not until that night. I was 25, living above a bait shop in a studio apartment that smelled like worms half the year. It wasn't much, but the rent was cheap, and the roof didn't leak, most days. The job wasn't glamorous, but I liked it. Night shifts meant less traffic, fewer customers to yap at you, and better tips from the folks too tired to cook. I knew every back road in town by heart, no GPS needed. Most of the regulars even knew me by name. That night started like any other. It was a Wednesday, which usually meant small runs spaced out over a few hours. I was just finishing up a double pepperoni drop near the high school when Carla, my manager, pinged me through the app. Carla, last one for you, 12-me trip, then clock out. I groaned. 12 miles this late? Gas was damn near $5 a gallon, and some folks still thought tipping meant handing you a handful of nickels and a smile, but overtime was overtime. I tapped accept, large meat lovers, extra garlic butter crust. Address, 1490 Rudder Lane Extension. Customer, Glenn H. Rudder Lane Extension. I squinted at the screen. I knew Rudder Lane, but the extension? That was way out by the old paper mill, past the railroad tracks, skirting the edge of the industrial park. Technically still in our delivery zone, but only just. An odd spot for a house, but some folks like to be left alone. I glanced at the clock. 11:42 p.m., cutting it close, but within the rules. I bagged the pizza, grabbed my thermos, and climbed into my beat-up Corolla. The engine wheezed to life like an old smoker with one lung. The roads were empty. A mist hung over the town, not quite fog, just heavy enough to make your headlights feel useless. Streetlights flickered like they couldn't decide if they were on or off. I passed the 24-hour gas station where Jerry, the night clerk, always gave me a wave. But tonight, Booth was dark. I turned off the main road and onto Rudder Lane Extension. My headlights caught nothing but broken fences and the hulking shapes of abandoned warehouses. No homes, no porch lights, no people. Then my GPS chirped. You have arrived. I slowed. In front of me was a narrow gravel drive cutting into a cluster of leafless trees. No visible house. Just a cracked wooden post with 1490 painted in faded red and a rusty mailbox hanging by one hinge. No light, no motion, just black beyond the shrubs. I pulled off the road and killed the engine, leaving the headlights on. The silence pressed in like cotton stuffed in my ears. All right, I muttered, grabbing the delivery bag. One more, then home. The gravel crunched under my sneakers as I walked up the drive. Halfway up, the house came into view. Squat, maybe built in the 60s. The kind of place you drive past 100 times and never remember. The paint was peeling in long strips and one sad porch light blinked like it was giving Morse code. No car, no music, no TV flicker behind the curtains. Just stillness. Then I saw him. He stood at the end of the driveway, 10 feet from the porch, right where gravel met the grass. Tall, maybe 6'3", wearing a gray hoodie and jeans. He didn't move. Just stood there, hands at his sides, watching. My footsteps slowed. Something felt off. Not just his stillness, but his smile. Too wide, too tight. It looked forced, like someone had told him to smile without telling him why. His eyes didn't follow me. They just locked onto mine, wide, unblinking. Delivery for Glenn? I called out, trying to sound casual. My voice cracked. Nothing. Not even a twitch. Just that damn grin. I took a slow step forward. One large meat lovers, extra garlic butter. That you? No answer. Then, like a machine clicking into gear, he tilted his head slightly. Just to the left, like a dog hearing a weird noise. His hands didn't move. His body didn't shift. Just his head. Finally, he reached into his pocket and pulled something out. A handful of coins. Exact change, he said. Voice flat, not tired, not rude, empty, like he was reading lines he didn't understand. Then he started counting. Out loud. 1, 2, 3. I stood there gripping the pizza bag, fingers stiff from the cold, but that wasn't what made them shake. Something was off. Not just weird customer off. Wrong. Quiet, crawling wrong, like walking into a room and forgetting what you came in for, only to realize you were never supposed to be there in the first place. Each coin he dropped into his palm made a sound that echoed too long in the still air. Clink, clink, clink. He never blinked, never looked away from my face. 7, 8, 9, he said softly. His breath misted in the chill, curling up toward the dead branches above us. I couldn't see my own. 12, he finished. He held out his hand. I hesitated. Something in me didn't want to touch him, but I reached out anyway. Our fingers brushed. His skin was ice cold. I jerked my hand back on instinct. He didn't even blink, just took the pizza and held it like it was precious, both arms wrapped under the box close to his chest. Still staring, that awful smile frozen on his face. You drive fast, he said. My stomach twisted like I'd missed a step on the stairs. What? My voice cracked. Too high, too tight. You drive too fast. Sometimes. I took a step back, heart hammering in my ears. Thanks for the order, I muttered, already moving. Have a good night. I turned. Fast walk, not quite a run. Gravel popped under my feet. I didn't dare look over my shoulder. I didn't breathe until I was inside the car, doors locked, headlights still on. I glanced up. He was still there. Standing, in the same spot. Pizza in his arms. His face pale and stretched by that smile, caught in the glow of my high beams. I backed out, tires crunching like bones, then peeled off down the road. Only when the yellow lights of the gas station came back into view did I let myself exhale. Told myself he was just a creep, some guy with social issues, maybe on the spectrum. Creepy, yeah, but harmless. I kept saying it, over and over. Then I saw him, far behind me, way down the road, just visible between the dim pools of streetlight. Same, gray hoodie, same tilted head. He was walking, right down the center of the street, calm, unhurried, like time didn't matter, like he knew I'd look back. I hit the gas. When I finally pulled into the Pizza Hut lot, it was empty. Carla's car was gone. The store was dark, too dark. We always locked up right at midnight. It was nearly 12:30. I parked crooked out front, engine still running, hands gripping the wheel like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. I needed a second, just a damn second to breathe. Then my phone buzzed. Blocked number. One new message. Drive safe. The phone slid from my fingers into my lap. My breath hitched in my throat. I looked up. At the far end of the lot near the dumpsters, someone stood just at the edge of the shadows. Still, watching. Tall. I didn't wait. I slammed the car into reverse, nearly clipped the curb and tore out. Of there like something was chasing me, because I wasn't sure it wasn't. I didn't stop until I was home. Every lock checked, every curtain drawn tight. I didn't sleep. Next morning, I didn't go in. Didn't even think about it. I called Carla, told her I was done. No 2 weeks, no explanation. She cussed me out, said I was screwing her over. Didn't care. For days, I kept checking the corners of my eyes, waking up in sweats from dreams I couldn't remember except for that smile, that stiff, skin-stretched smile. I changed my number, blocked the app, never drove down Rudder Lane again, and I never delivered another pizza. I started delivering pizzas because I needed textbook money. That's it. No tragic backstory, no family drama. I was just 19, a nursing student at Western Community College, trying to get through second semester without maxing my credit card. The scholarship covered tuition, but not gas or my ridiculous phone bill. My parents helped when they could, but I didn't want to lean too hard. So I got a job at Pizza Haven, local chain, kind of like a knockoff Pizza Hut, wedged between a vape shop and a busted laundromat on the west side of Brighton. 3 nights a week, I threw on a red uniform polo, tied my long dark hair into a ponytail, and clocked in for the late shift. It was chill most nights after 9:30. Some families, a couple of baked college kids, and sometimes a weirdly generous tipper who made my whole night worth it. I liked the routine, garlic in the air, the GPS routes I could practically do in my sleep, and how the heat from the pizza bags kept my Civic's front seat warm during winter. March 6th, Thursday, started like any other. Cold, windy, the sidewalks, still glossy from earlier rain. I walked into Kendra, my manager, already 2 hours deep into another breakup spiral. "You ever date someone who picks fights just so they don't have to admit they're lying?" she asked, shoving a box of breadsticks into a thermal bag. Can't say I have," I said, glancing over the ticket she handed me. "Lucky. Never trust a man with a tribal neck tattoo and no damn car." I laughed, slung the bags over my shoulder, and headed to my beat-up Honda Civic. Bought it off Facebook Marketplace for way less than it was worth. It rattled when I turned too hard and permanently smelled like Parmesan, but hey, it ran. The delivery slip read, Apartment 14B, 242 Willow Run. Name, Charles. Payment, cash. Time, 10:22 p.m. Willow Run wasn't the worst complex in Brighton, but it was the kind of place where tenants left trash bags next to the dumpster instead of in it. Mostly college dudes, people between jobs, and the occasional sketchy loner who never turned their porch light on. I'd been there twice before. I remembered the stairwell reeking of mold and old weed. Not great, but not dangerous either. Still, the second I pulled into the lot, something felt wrong. It wasn't anything obvious, just this weird, heavy kind of quiet that didn't make sense. Thursday night, but not a single TV was on. No bass, no voices, no balcony laughter from the stoner crew that usually hung on the 3rd floor. Even the breeze had stopped. The trees didn't move. The flags on the leasing office hung limp. I checked the address again on my phone. 42 Willow Run, Building C14B. I grabbed the pizzas, zipped up my hoodie tight, and headed for the stairwell. My sneakers hit the concrete louder than usual, each step echoing like it didn't belong, like I was interrupting something. At the second floor landing, I stopped in front of 14B. Beige door, slightly crooked number plate, flickering porch light above. Nothing obviously wrong, but I felt it. The air got thicker near that door, like humidity without the heat. I shifted the bags and knocked. Firm, but polite. Nothing. 10 seconds passed. I knocked again. Still no sound. I was pulling out my phone to call the number on the receipt when, cree-eek, the door cracked open. Barely. Just enough to show a sliver of black beyond the frame. No chain lock, no lights inside. A man's voice spoke. Low, flat. "Come inside. It's Cash." I blinked. "I can't step in, sir. Company policy. I can hand it to you right here." Silence. The door didn't budge, just that black slit. The same voice again, same flat tone. "Come inside." But this time it wasn't a request. It sounded hollow, Not annoyed. Not urgent. Just wrong. Like he was reading a line he didn't understand. I tightened my grip on the bags. "Sir," I said, firmer now, "I'm not allowed to go inside. If you have the cash, I can take it and give you your order." Then slowly, a hand slid into the narrow gap. Pale, large, hair on the knuckles, nails trimmed and weirdly clean. It didn't offer money, just gripped the edge of the door, tight. I stepped back half a pace, pizza still in hand like a flimsy cardboard shield. "Can you please hand me the money?" I asked again, trying to keep my voice steady. The door opened a little wider, maybe 6 more inches, enough for me to see the hem of a black hoodie, a sliver of a man's face. 40s maybe. Hard to tell. The shadows clung to him. His eyes were open wide. Too wide. "Dropped it," he said. I swallowed. "Dropped what?" "Cash. It fell inside. Come get it." "Nope." My whole body tensed. Every line from the safety slideshow I'd ignored during training suddenly flashed in my brain like warning lights. Don't go inside. Don't follow customers. Use the pizza bags as a buffer. Always carry your phone. "I'll wait here while you grab it," I said, trying to sound sure of myself. The man didn't move. I felt his stare like a weight pressing against my chest. Then, no warning, the door snapped open wider and his hand shot out. It wasn't some slow-motion movie scene. He didn't yank me inside or throw a punch. He just grabbed, fast and brutal. His hand clamped around my forearm like a vice, squeezing, until my fingers went numb. The pizza bags nearly slipped. I gasped, sharp and involuntary, and jerked back, twisting hard, trying to break free. "Let go," I snapped. But he didn't. He pulled harder. My balance shifted, one foot skidding on the filthy doormat, my knee knocking into the doorframe as my upper body tilted toward that black interior. Then I remembered the pepper spray, left hoodie pocket, let one of the pizza bags drop to the ground and jammed my free hand into my pocket. My fingers closed around the canister. I didn't warn him, didn't hesitate. I shoved it through the crack and sprayed. The sound he made wasn't human. High-pitched, raw, wrong. It tore out of him like an animal in pain, like something that didn't know how to be in pain. He let go instantly. The door slammed shut with enough force to shake the hinges. I didn't think. I dropped the other bag, spun around, and sprinted down the stairs past the silent apartments, out into the cold that hit me like a slap. My Civic looked a mile away. My hands shook so bad I fumbled the keys twice before I got the door open. Slammed it shut, locked it, double-checked. Then I called Kendra. By the time the cops showed up, they already knew the address. Apartment 14B had a file. According to the officer who took my statement, they'd been trying to build a case for months. The guy had been reported, unofficially, by a few other delivery drivers. Creepy stories, off vibes, but no formal complaints. No one had fought back. No one had gotten him to show aggression on record. Until me. Turns out he'd assaulted 3 service workers, 2 other delivery girls, and a cable tech. They'd all managed to escape. But they didn't report it. Didn't press. My call gave the detectives something to act on. 3 days later, they arrested him. I never found out the full details. The detective who called me said the apartment was full of evidence, disturbing stuff. I didn't ask what. I didn't want to know, but I do remember what he said. "You likely stopped something worse from happening. You were smart. You were brave." Pizza Haven gave me a week off. Paid. My dad said I should quit, that no job was worth that kind of danger. My mom cried on the phone, asked me to move back home. I thought about it. I really did. But then I remembered why I started. The textbooks, the freedom, the quiet pride in taking care of myself. And I realized something. Fear doesn't get to decide who I am. I still work at Pizza Haven, still wear the red polo, still drive my creaky old Civic with the Parmesan smell baked into the seats. But now there's one new thing in my uniform: awareness. And a bigger can of pepper spray. Every time I walk up to a door, I remember 14B. But I also remember I walked away. Because I listened to my gut. Because I fought. Because I refused to be pulled into the dark. And that's mine. I wasn't always like this. There was a time, not long ago really, when I used to jog every morning, rain or shine. I made a damn good breakfast too. Scrambled eggs, avocado toast, hot coffee poured from a French press. I'd blast a podcast and hum along while packing my lunch. I used to greet the day with this relentless, borderline obnoxious optimism that made my coworkers roll their eyes. Back then, I worked for a small accounting firm just outside Topeka. Nothing fancy, but it paid the bills. I had a clean little apartment with a balcony, friends I met for trivia nights and weekend hikes. We'd grab beers after work, talk about dumb shows, complain about Kansas weather. I was fine. I was normal. But that was 2 years ago, before everything went sideways. Before Pizza Hut became my whole damn world. It started out small, the way these things always do. One night after slogging through another brutal tax season, overtime hours, dead-eyed Zoom calls, I got home too wiped out to lift a pan. My fridge was a sad wasteland of wilting spinach and a half-used bottle of sriracha, so I caved. I ordered a large meat lovers and a 2-liter Pepsi from the Pizza Hut down the road. It got there fast. Still steaming when I opened the box. I remember pulling the first slice, cheese stretching in golden gooey threads, grease glistening under the kitchen light. It was stupidly good. Warm, indulgent, exactly what I needed. I didn't know it then, but that was the night it started replacing everything else. 6 months later, I'd put on nearly 50 pounds. The jogging shoes sat dusty by the door. My fridge? Nothing but expired. Salad dressings and a carton of questionable milk. Every surface in my apartment was littered with greasy boxes, plastic soda bottles, and balled-up napkins. The texts from friends stopped. The invites dried up. I missed deadlines. The firm let me go. I didn't even try to fight it. The only thing I gave a damn about was the delivery tracker. Refresh, 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 like some sick countdown to salvation. Then there was Jeremy. He worked the closing shift at the Pizza Hut on 29th. I only knew his name from the receipts. Always the same lanky guy. Pale, greasy blonde hair stuffed under a backwards cap. Didn't smile. Didn't talk unless he had to. At first, he was just another dude dropping off dinner. But after enough nights, he started remembering things. My name. My apartment. The tip I usually gave. One time, he looked at me and said, "Damn. You're like my biggest customer." I gave a weak laugh, tried to brush it off, but the way he said it, it stuck, like it meant something deeper. Then came the night he lingered. I opened the door and he just stood there, a little too long. The steam rose from the box between us, like something alive. He looked me over, my oversized, grease-stained t-shirt, unwashed hair, and his lip curled just slightly. Then he asked, quiet and flat, "You ever think about how much of this you eat?" It wasn't a joke. There was no smirk, no teasing. Just cold, blunt curiosity. I didn't answer. Just shut the door. Later that night, I actually looked at myself in the mirror. Not a glance. Really looked. And I hated what I saw. Pale. Bloated. Eyes sunk deep. But I didn't stop. If anything, I ordered more. And that's when it got weird. The smell came first. Not the usual buttery baked cheese scent. Something foul under it. Moldy. Metallic. Like old meat left in a warm car. The first time I thought bad batch. Maybe the driver left it out too long. But it kept happening. The sauce started tasting off, sharp. The meat had this gritty texture, like biting into sand. I tried calling the store to complain. No answer. Just the same hold music on a loop. That night, I got sick. Not, bad. Pizza sick. Real sick. Sweating. Shaking. Vomiting until I was dry heaving on the floor, eyes rolling back. I didn't go to the hospital. Just curled up on the couch, clutching my gut, drifting in and out. Didn't order again for a week. Told myself I was done, but the cravings came back. When I finally broke, I called the same store. A girl answered. Perky, high voice. Pizza Hut. How can I help you? I hesitated. Hey, does Jeremy still work there? Silence. Then she said, There's no one here by that name. I frowned. Are you sure? He used to deliver to me all the time. Tall, kinda thin. Wore a backwards cap. She said she'd worked there over a year. Said the night shift was just her and this older guy named Rick. Said she'd never heard of a Jeremy. And I swear to God, my skin went cold. I almost hung up, but something made me stay on the line. When did Rick start working nights? I asked. There was a pause. I could hear the hum of a cooler behind her, the clatter of pans. I mean, always? She said. He's been here longer than me. Why? I mumbled something about a mix-up. Wrong store, maybe. Then I hung up. That night, I dreamt of Jeremy. He was in my kitchen, pale, soaked from the rain, water dripping from his sleeves onto the tile. His mouth hung open like he wanted to speak, but no sound came. He just looked at me and slowly lifted a slice of pizza, bit into it. Slow, deliberate. One bite. Chew. Swallow. Another bite. His eyes never left mine. I should have stopped right then. But I didn't. I was already too far gone, bloated, trapped in my own body, terrified to step outside. So I kept ordering. Again. And again. Then came the night the box arrived with no logo, no receipt, just plain brown cardboard. I was starving, shaking, didn't care. I opened it. The smell hit first, rancid, like something that had died and been reheated, rotten meat. Still, I took a bite. Just one. The crust snapped like dry bone. The sauce was cold, metallic. I gagged, spit it out, stumbled to the sink. That was it. My breaking point. I called 911. When the responders arrived, a firefighter had to wedge the door open with a crowbar. I couldn't get up, couldn't move. My skin felt like it didn't fit. The EMTs kept their voices calm, professional. But I saw the looks, the twitch of a nostril, the subtle glances between them. I was drenched in sweat, skin slick and clammy, dehydrated, feverish. At the hospital, they ran tests. Food poisoning, bad, borderline septic. I asked the nurse, half delirious, "You ever seen something like this?" She didn't blink. Twice. From Pizza Hut? I asked. The one on 29th? She nodded. I told her about Jeremy. Her face went still. You said Jeremy? She asked carefully. Yeah, I said. Blonde. Backwards cap. Always delivered. My order. She swallowed. Jeremy Martin? Yeah. She took a step back. He died 2 years ago. My mouth went dry. He was stabbed during a robbery, she continued. Out back near the dumpster. They said he bled out before the ambulance got there. The room tilted sideways. I gripped the bed rails. I filed a report. Health inspectors showed up at the 29th Street location. The story hit the news rat droppings. Expired meats and worse, unidentified biological contaminants in the dough mixers. The place was shut down, permits pulled, doors locked, but no one was arrested. Management claimed ignorance. The employees denied everything. And here's the creepiest part. Nobody remembered Jeremy. No employee file, no photo, no last paycheck. Just me. And the girl, who picked up the phone. 6 months have passed. I've lost some weight. Started therapy. Got a routine. I walk a little every morning. Just a block or two. I even cook again. Nothing fancy. Scrambled eggs. Toast. Something warm. Something real. But every now and then, when the sky turns that deep shade of bruise, when the streetlights buzz a little too loud, there's a knock at my door. No footsteps. No voice. Just a single knock. Sometimes there's a pizza box on the steps. Unmarked. Always warm. I never open them. But they keep coming. I tell myself it's A prank, a glitch, some leftover database thing. But in the darkest hours of the night when the world is quiet and my stomach growls, I remember Jeremy's eyes, hollow, hungry. And I wonder, what if that hunger was never mine to begin with? I never thought slinging pizzas at a rundown Pizza Hut could leave scars deeper than any oven burn, but it did. And no matter how many years slide by, that night clings to me. Every time I catch the yeasty smell of pizza dough or hear a ringtone echo through a quiet room, it pulls me right back. I was 19, still half a kid, trying to figure out life in Fairvale, a small town caught between two highways and forgotten by time. Too far from any big city to matter. Pizza Hut was one of the only places open late, so it doubled as a hangout and a lifeline. We stayed open until 11 on weekdays, midnight on weekends. The building itself was falling apart. The red roof looked sun-bleached and tired. Our neon sign sputtered like it was holding on for dear life. And that damn doorbell only worked when the stars aligned, but somehow it felt like mine. I'd been working there since high school, mostly doing deliveries because we were always understaffed. Most nights I was the only full-timer. The part-timers came and went like a draft through a busted screen door. The job wasn't glamorous, but I didn't hate it. Tips were okay. The roads were quiet at night, just me and whatever playlist I was vibing with, delivering pies to half-asleep people who barely remembered ordering. I never felt scared, just stuck. Until that night. I was born and raised in Fairvale. It's the kind of place where you wave at every car, even if you've got no clue who's driving. People still left their doors unlocked. Crime was something that happened on TV. My folks had moved to Florida the minute I graduated, chasing sun and early retirement. I stayed behind, thinking I'd save up before college. I rented this cramped apartment above an old barber shop. Cheap, quiet. Thought that's what I wanted. Doug was my manager. Lazy as hell. Smelled like stale Mountain Dew, but harmless. As long as the till balanced, he didn't care if I spent half my shift cleaning or staring at my phone. Then there was Marcy, mid-30s, sharp tongue, chain smoker, probably hadn't smiled in a decade. She'd seen too much pizza and not enough raises. But that night, it was just me and Doug. A dead Tuesday in early October. The kind of night where the wind scrapes leaves along the pavement and makes you feel like someone's watching, even when they're not. Only 3 deliveries, all evening. I was half-heartedly wiping down the counter, praying the clock would speed up when the phone rang. I snatched it up on the second ring. Pizza Hut Fairvale. This is Emma. What can I get started for you? Silence. Not static, just dead. Air. Then a voice, flat and slow. Like the speaker had just woken up. Or like they didn't really want to be talking. Large pepperoni. No mushrooms. Extra crispy crust. All right. I grabbed a pen, brow furrowing. And what's the address? 719 Maple Hollow Road. There was a pause. Then, it's the gray house at the end. No streetlights. You'll see my car out front. Something about how he said it. You'll see my car out front. Made me grip the receiver tighter. It wasn't just info. It was like a dare. I hesitated, then jotted it down. Okay, that'll be $14.87. Should be there in about 25. Click, no goodbye, no thanks. Just silence. Doug looked up from his laptop, where he was half watching some rabbit hole YouTube video on government lizard people. Creeper? I shrugged. Just weird. Dunno. Maple Hollow was out by the edge of town, past that empty stretch where the cornfields used to be before they got bought out and bulldozed. The GPS got me most of the way before it glitched and left me guessing. It was dark. Real dark. Like the kind of dark that makes you forget color exists. No streetlights, just black and deeper black. I drove slow, scanning peeling house numbers with my high beams. Then I saw it. A gray 2-story house slouched at the end of the road, paint flaking, shutters dangling like broken limbs. A single upstairs light glowed faintly. Parked in the gravel driveway was a black sedan, rusted, dented, just sitting there like it was waiting. I eased to a stop, engine idling, headlights still on, my gut twisted, tight, and cold. But I told myself, "You're just delivering a damn pizza." Maybe I was just being paranoid. Could have been some antisocial dude who hated small talk. Happens. I grabbed the pizza box and stepped out. The air hit colder than it should have been, sharper, like the wind had teeth. The gravel under my sneakers crunched louder than usual, like it wanted to be heard. The path to the front door was narrow, hemmed in by wild weeds. I knocked. Nothing. Waited. Knocked again. "Pizza Hut," I called, trying to inject some fake cheer into my voice. Still nothing. I pressed the doorbell. No sound. Dead. I gave the door another knock, louder this time. Then I heard it. A thump. Dull. Heavy. Like someone dropped a box. Or a body. "Hello?" I called again, voice tighter now. My pulse picked up. Then came the voice. Not a man's. A woman's. Faint. Muffled. I couldn't make out words, but the panic in it sliced through the walls. Quick and sharp, like someone screaming with a hand over her mouth. I froze. Every instinct told me leave now. Just turn. Walk. Fast. Pretend this never happened, but I couldn't. Not without doing something. I pulled out my phone. Pretended to scroll, trying to keep my breathing steady while my brain screamed options at me. I turned, planning to get back to the car and call it in from there. That's when I saw him. In the upstairs window. A face. Just there. Staring right at me, smiling. Not a normal smile. Something wrong. The eyes were glassy, empty, like two spoiled eggs. Lips stretched back way too far, teeth glowing in the sudden porch light that flicked on like a jump scare. I dropped the pizza. The front door slammed open behind me. He was sprinting, too fast. I bolted. Gravel exploded under my feet as I ran. I heard his shoes pounding behind me, felt the panic clawing up my throat. I dove into my car, slammed the door, yanked the lock down with shaking fingers. He was right behind me, right there. I fumbled. The keys, jammed them in the ignition, twisted. Roar. The tires screamed as I peeled out of the driveway. Dirt kicked up behind me. In the rear view, he stood at the edge of the drive, right where the headlights stopped. Still smiling, didn't even blink. I didn't go back to the store. Couldn't. I drove straight to the police station, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight I thought I'd snap it. I told the dispatcher everything. Her face didn't change, not once. Just picked up the phone, called over an officer. They brought me into a little room, made me go over it all again. That night, a patrol car went out to the house on Maple Hollow. They didn't find him, but they found her, tied up in the basement, gagged, shaking so hard she couldn't even speak at. First, her name was Leah Owens, 21, college student. She'd been missing 3 days. He'd abducted her from her apartment, drugged her, dragged her to that house like it was a rabbit hole. She said he kept her tied up, barely fed her, didn't speak. She was sure he was going to kill her that night. But when he went to the door, for me, he stayed longer than usual. That gave her just enough time to crawl to the stairs and scream. They caught him a week later. Elliot Grange, 46. No priors, no known link to Leah. Just a predator, with a soft voice and a fast sprint, waiting for the right night. I quit Pizza Hut a month after that. No more late-night deliveries. Even now, all these years later, I still flinch when I hear a doorbell. I check my locks 3 times before I drive. I don't walk up to dark porches anymore. Not alone. And sometimes, on really quiet nights, I see it again. That smile. In dreams, in glass, in places it shouldn't be. People think small towns are safe, but monsters live here too. They just hide better. And sometimes, all it takes to find one is a pizza. I still remember the sound of that knock. Sharp, too sharp. Each rap like a snap of breaking glass in a still room. Not rushed, not hesitant. It was deliberate, precise, like someone meant to be heard. And I hadn't ordered anything. Wasn't expecting anyone. That knock's carved into my brain like a scar. It was 2006. I was 22, broke, and in my last year at Illinois State. Living alone for the first time, an old one-bedroom in a place called Maple View Heights, just off the main road. Nothing fancy. It had creaky floors, thin-ass walls, and pipes that clanged like ghosts at night. But the rent was cheap and nobody bothered me. That was the appeal. I liked being alone. Needed it, honestly. I was a psych major, always buried in textbooks or pulling late nights editing papers. I cooked simple, watched trash TV, went out with friends on the weekends, but mostly, I kept to myself. That Friday was nothing special. I got home around 6, made some boxed mac and cheese, flopped onto the couch and cracked open my psych notes. Midterms were coming up and I wasn't exactly killing it in behavioral stats. At 8:43 p.m., I remember the exact time. I heard it. 3 knocks. Not loud, but not soft either. Confident. I frowned. Who the hell? Maple View had a locked front entrance. You couldn't just stroll into the building, let alone make it to the second floor without someone buzzing you in. I stood up slowly, walked to the door, and peeked through the peephole. A delivery guy, red shirt, black cap, Pizza Hut logo, big insulated bag in his hands. He looked mid-40s, real lean, with patchy stubble and watery blue eyes that didn't blink enough. "Pizza delivery," he called out, too cheerful. I opened the door just a crack, the chain still latched. "Think you've got the wrong apartment," I said. "I didn't order anything." He leaned forward a little, peering in like he could see past me. That smile stayed on his face, but something shifted in his eyes. Not confused, not apologetic, just blank. Watching. "This ain't 2B?" he asked, tilting his head. "It is," I said, keeping my voice even. "Still didn't order pizza." He chuckled, scratched the back of his neck. "Damn, must be 2D. Sorry about that." "All good," I said, and shut the door fast. I stayed there for a second, ear against the wood. Nothing. No footsteps. No muffled curses. Just dead silence. Then finally, the metallic clunk of the building's front door closing. I tried to brush it off. People mess up addresses all the time, right? But still, something about him unsettled me. I double-checked the deadbolt, turned off the stove, kept the lights on in the living room even after I got into bed. Couldn't sleep. My chest felt tight like I'd swallowed a fist. 16 a.m. I was still awake, scrolling through my phone when it happened again. 4 knocks this time. Slower. Louder. Thud. 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 I froze. Nobody knocks at your door at 2 in the damn morning. I slid out of bed, silent, my socked feet making no sound as I crept down the hallway. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I looked through the peephole again. It was him. Same red shirt. Same hat. No pizza bag. He stood still, arms limp at his sides, staring straight at my door like he knew I was there. He hadn't buzzed in. That meant someone either let him in, or he never left. He raised one hand. Bang! The whole door jolted. Then he spoke. "I know you're in there." My blood turned to ice. "You ordered this pizza. I brought it. Don't play games." I didn't move, didn't breathe. He stepped closer, leaned his forehead against the door like he was listening through it. Then, slam. His palm hit it so hard the chain rattled. "Open up!" I backed away fast, nearly tripping over my own feet, grabbed my phone off the kitchen counter. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely unlock the screen. Tried to dial 911. Missed. Hung up. Tried again. 911, what's your emergency?" "There's a man at my door," I whispered, crouching behind the island. "He's trying to get in. He was here earlier saying he was from Pizza Hut. Now he's back. He got inside somehow. I didn't even finish the sentence before it started again. Bang! This time a kick. He was kicking the door. "He's trying to break in," I shouted. "Stay on the line with me," the dispatcher said, calm but firm. "Officers are en route. Do not open the door." "No shit," I breathed, nearly hysterical. He was screaming now, full-blown rage pouring through the door. "You think I don't know who you are? You think this is funny? You're gonna pay for this." The whole door frame shook. I scrambled behind the couch, clutching my phone like a lifeline, heart jackhammering against my ribs. Every knock, every kick felt like it might be the one that broke through. The dispatcher's voice in my ear was calm, measured, doing her best to keep me talking, to anchor me. But my brain was running white hot. I couldn't think. I couldn't breathe. I was trapped. Then came the loudest bang yet. It shook the door frame. And then, nothing. No screaming, no kicking, no footsteps retreating. Just silence, thick as wet wool. "Is he still there?" the dispatcher asked. I crept up to the peephole again, holding my breath so tight my vision blurred. Gone. I don't see him, I whispered. "Stay inside," she said. "Officers are almost there." It couldn't have been more than 3 or 4 minutes, but it stretched like hours. Every second felt like a countdown to something breaking. I jumped when I heard the knock, but this time it was followed by, "Normal PD, it's the police." I nearly collapsed against the door from the weight of relief. 2 officers, both young, both trying to look casual but clearly rattled by my panic. They swept the building. Nothing. No sign of him. No forced entry on the downstairs door either. My guess? He waited for someone to come home and slipped in behind them. Mapleview didn't have cameras back then, just those buzzer boxes from the 80s and a whole lot of assumptions. When I explained everything, one of the officers gave me this look, half puzzled, half doubtful. "You sure you didn't, forget you ordered a pizza?" he asked, scratching his cheek. "I think I'd remember that," I shot back, sharper than I meant to. They took my statement, promised to patrol the area, said to call if anything else happened. No leads, no arrest, just a report number and a sense that I was on my own. The next day I didn't go to class, didn't leave the apartment. I kept the lights off and the blinds down, sat with my phone in one hand and a kitchen knife in the other. 2 days passed. Nothing. I started to wonder if maybe that was the end of it. Maybe he'd moved on. Maybe I was lucky. Then I got the call. Blocked number. I answered out of reflex. "Hello?" Silence. Then a voice. Low. Raspy. Too calm. "You still owe me." Click. That was it. I threw my phone across the room and grabbed my bag. I didn't even pack properly, just shoved clothes and my toothbrush into a backpack and called my best friend Leah. She didn't hesitate. "You're staying here, bring your charger. You're not going back tonight." I stayed with her for a week, filed a report with campus security, called Pizza Hut's corporate line. They said none of their drivers matched my description. No delivery listed for my apartment that night. No driver even assigned to my street. A week later, Leah drove me back in broad daylight so I could grab more of my stuff. Everything looked normal. Nothing touched. Door still locked. Windows intact. But when we stepped out and turned to lock up, I saw something. Tucked into the door handle was a receipt. Pizza Hut. No date. No order number. Just the word paid, written in smeared red pen. I didn't sleep that night. 2 months later, a man named Derek Lang was arrested in a town about 40 minutes away. Charges: stalking, breaking and entering, unlawful restraint. He'd been targeting women who lived alone, waiting, watching. Lang had a history with pizza delivery jobs: Domino's, Papa John's, Pizza Hut. He used them to scope out apartment layouts, test locks, learn routines. Sometimes he broke in. Sometimes he just watched. One victim was found unconscious in her bathtub. Another came home to find her windows blacked out with trash bags from the inside. When the police raided his place, they found notebooks. Dozens. Each one filled with names, unit numbers, floor plans, timetables, routines. Mine was in there. My full name. My address. And one line, circled in red ink. She answered. She opened the chain. She will again. I moved out of Mapleview Heights the next week. Found a place with 2 roommates, steel locks, and a security system that actually worked. Finished my degree. Changed my number. Got a rescue mutt named Toby who barks at his own shadow, and I let him. I still don't answer the door unless I know exactly who's on the other side. And yeah, I still order pizza sometimes, but never from Pizza Hut. I threw some clothes, my charger, and a toothbrush into a backpack and took an Uber to Leah's place across town. She answered the door in her pajamas, took one look at my face, and didn't ask a single question. "You're staying here," she said, tugging me inside. "Week, minimum." I didn't argue. The next morning, I filed a report with campus security, mostly out of obligation. I called Pizza Hut's corporate number too, still shaken, still trying to make sense of it. The woman on the line sounded polite but detached, scripted. "We've reviewed our logs," she said. "None of our drivers match that description, and we have no record of a delivery to your address on that date." My stomach dropped. A week later, Leah came with me back to the apartment in broad daylight, just to grab a few more things, see if it felt safe. It didn't, but everything was in place. The door was still locked, no signs of a break-in, no scratches, no jimmied locks, nothing on the windows. "I think it's fine," Leah said gently. "He's gone." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her.